Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Guard Tower. Sorry we've been gone for so long, but with the holidays, everything else, I was traveling myself. But it's 2025. Danny, welcome.
Tony, how's it going?
Man, it's going good. You?
Good new year. Yeah.
Yeah? How's work going?
Work is, we're back to work. We had a lot of nice days off with the holidays, and so now everyone's getting used to having to work a full week again. So we're good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was off too. I had to get back into the swing of things this week, and it was a little difficult, not going to lie. So it was
First world problems.
You got it. You got it. So, hey, since we've been gone on hiatus, a lot of things have happened in the security world. I think we're going to address the number one issue that happened last month, and that is executive protection.
Yeah.
And how they shot the CEO, Brian Thompson. I'm sure that you've already looked at this. I'm sure that you've seen this. What are your thoughts?
So, originally, of course, the first thing that happens is all the conspiracy theories come out, right? Not saying those are invalid, but those are always the first things to come out. Like, who did he work for? Who was he, coordinating with? Who paid him off? Who hired him from the deep state, right? Like, just all the interesting stuff. The theories come out. But then I was surprised that he got caught so easily in a McDonald's. That kind of surprised me.
Yeah, that threw me off.
Yeah.
With everything that you hear, how he planned it, that really threw me off, because I was like, man, they're not going to find this guy. I was amazed, because when we talk about, because after I started reading it and looking into it, man, I was actually amazed at all the things that people can do in order to hide their identity now. Have you seen that mask on Amazon for $8 that you can put over your face? And everybody tells me that when you're up close, you can see it's fake, but from a distance, it looks real. So I could buy a mask with your face on it now, put a hoodie on, and then run around. I mean, I was like, wow, that's.
So it's like Tom Cruise style, right? When he's in Mission Impossible, he goes,
all for $8.
He peels off the Dick Cheney.
Right, all for $8. And I thought that guy was pretty smart, the way he did it, the way he, and when you talk about conspiracy theories, I always find it amazing. You hear a lot of those people say, well, he wasn't that smart. He didn't do what he intended. No, back it up. He was that smart. He accomplished his goal.
Pulled it off, yeah.
Right? His goal was to kill this individual. So how people can say that, oh, well, he didn't do it very well planned, and my God, he succeeded in his mission. That was the guy's whole theory, was to get that guy.
Yeah. And
to be well planned out. I thought it was well planned out.
It seemed that way.
Right? Initially?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, one of the questions I always get, too, is that where was his executive protection team? Well, I've worked executive protection for a Fortune 500 company before. My CEO didn't really want us. He was just like, no, guys, just drive me around. Like, I don't want to be taken care of. And then you hear people are amazed on how many CEOs out there that don't want executive protection, which after hearing everything, I'm not amazed that he didn't have it. And then you got to figure, my gosh, even if you were a high-profile CEO, do you really want 24/7 executive protection?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think especially if you're more introverted to begin with, if you lean more that way, like, you don't want to be around people all the time, and especially, people are going to be like in your business, and I mean, it kind of reminds me of some of the scenes from like obviously Secret Service, but like the scenes from like Air Force One, or like Olympus Has Fallen, where like the Secret Service agents are around him, and like they know, like, they know what his favorite ice cream is. Like, they know what his kid's favorite video game is. It's like they become like part of the family,
Sure.
right? Because they're in their life all the time, and so I could see how someone would reject that. Yeah.
I don't care how much money I have. I wouldn't want executive protection team seeing everything that I do. Like, nah, yeah,
There's too many witnesses.
Yeah, my protection team would be writing books on me. They'd be like, this guy, he just went over here today. Like, nah. And then what I find amazing too is that a lot of people don't know the difference between executive protection and physical security.
Yeah.
They actually think it's both, and it's not. It is the furthest from everything else. I mean, just from basic qualifications, you know, and then like right now, we get a lot of questions asked of, well, how should we design our executive protection team? I don't know. It's going to be dependent on that person that you want to protect.
Yeah.
I mean,
and their lifestyle too.
And yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you know, I've been through executive protection schools before, and another issue that I've seen that was raised up a lot was that, well, do you have an armed executive protection team, or do you have an unarmed executive protection team? Well, the logistics of being armed as an executive protection team are incredible.
Yeah.
That's why my team, we decided not to be armed. Like we said, because what you're doing is you're flying from state to state to state to state.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Different gun laws, different, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right. And then it was real funny because some people on my team had the attitude of, well, just tell them that you're so-and-so executive protection. Really? Yeah. It
doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean squat. Like if we go to California, that young cop is going to look at me like, who? And what? Like, you got a gun with no permit.
Yeah.
That's all I care about.
With a 16-round magazine.
Right.
In California.
In California, you're done, right? I mean, so those are the kind of things that as soon as everything is coming out and what people learn about executive protection team, and we're just barely scratching the surface, because I have to throw this out before I forget it. It's so funny how this has now taken a back seat in the news.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, I'll be honest. When it first happened, we were getting calls here, left and right about training. Like, what do we do? How do we do it? Well, guess what? A month later, crickets. You give them a price quote. Guess what? Crickets. Like, okay, what's going on? So, executive protection though. Do your judges have executive protection?
Just us. Just us. Yeah.
So physical security.
Yeah. And we're not in the same room most of the time.
Oh yeah, because man, when we talk about physical security for courthouses, you guys got panic buttons. Where do those go to?
I think they go directly to PD.
Ouch.
So, you mean as far as who gets notified?
Yeah, who gets that initial call once they hit the call button?
It alerts dispatch right away. So they get, as soon as one's hit, there's a call that goes out and people start heading there.
Oh wow! But you guys aren't informed of that, huh?
We are. Yeah. I mean, usually it's so we share the same radio frequency with them, so we hear, even though we have our own that we can use for just internal stuff, so that we don't cloud up the airway, but we have both channels open, so we can hear their calls coming in. So as long as somebody's paying attention, yeah.
Do you guys have protocols for executive protection for your judges? Say you get a threat Monday of a guy who really wants to hurt a judge and says he lives at so-and-so residence. I mean, as PD, I would be like, okay, that's a credible threat. Who's going to take over the executive protection?
We would.
Oh, you would? Your department?
Yeah. So or our unit. So we would end up doing some kind of escort standby, depending on how, like, the severity of, usually, if the people involved, if they're, let's say, the executive assistants or the clerks and stuff are doing their job correctly, then they would notify us ahead of time. If they're not doing their job correctly, we might find out the day of, or like in the moment where, hey, can you come up here because XYZ is going on, even though they should have let us know the day before or the weekend before.
Yeah.
So that'd be us. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting because, like I said, we've got a lot of calls between now and when it happened. We've had to give out a lot of advice on what to do for an executive protection team, what it would actually entail, who to look for, who to talk to. And when I say who to look for, man, there's a lot of yahoos out there that think they know what they're doing because, they served in the military, or I was a cop for 20 years, or no, there's a lot to it. I mean, you do need specialized training. You do need certain experiences in order to do all that because I'll be honest, when I went through my executive protection school, I was amazed. We were taught to be unarmed, and we were taught that if something were to happen to our protectee, we're supposed to jump in there.
Yeah.
I come from a military and law enforcement background where, man, military? What? I'm going to jump in. What? No, I'm going to fire back. Like, no, this guy's going down. Like, no. Like, so it was just a whole different mindset for me to get into and how to actually think about the legalities of what we're facing. And then that school was like, oh, you're supposed to jump in front of them. And they actually did a drill where we had to push down the protectee and yell gun, 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 and act like we're going to be in front of the bullet. And after that training session, I was like, wow, like, because I'm used to other ones where you say gun, 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 but you have something back to say, but.
You mean you didn't duck down to his waist while he went like this?
Hey, that's not funny.
She's
okay. That's not funny.
She's memorialized in that picture forever.
But yeah, it was just eye opening because you, as the executive protection agent, you might be making 120, but is that worth your life to jump in front of a CEO? I look back at it now, going, nah.
I mean, the argument I've heard for that. So one of our coworkers, who I won't name just out of respect for his privacy, but he's a retired Green Beret, and one of his jobs he had in the past, because he's getting up there in age, right? One of the jobs he had was as private security for one of the founders, one of the Apple founders, and he did that for like a couple of years. But he they were armed, not all the time, most of the time I think. But he did say that one time that if they were wearing a lot of body armor, that kind of give you a little bit more peace of mind as far as like, because I imagine if you're going to be jumping in front of a bullet, at least not like you can be completely protected or covered, but at least that you have some kind of resistance to it.
Yeah. And then my experience is working for a CEO in a business was, man, we didn't try to look hardcore either. Like we went to work and sometimes I'd wear shorts, just to blend in with the crowd, just to do whatever. I
play hacky sack.
In my training, people were wondering. I was part of an advancement team going to the mall, and my team's like, "Where are you? Where are you?" I was eating lunch with my baseball cap and my shorts on, and I responded back, "I'm here. I see you. I see you looking at me like you're looking for me." And they're like, "You're supposed to be working." I think I am. I see you guys walking around the mall.
Like, why do you have a chili dog in your mouth?
But to me, that's the ultimate executive protection team, because, man, we could come out of the woodwork and you would never know. Like,
yeah, I think not being seen is a good thing for most of those guys,
yeah, for true exec. And I think it changes on the person, and I think it changes on the environment too. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm pretty sure if we went to an award show, then we'd be dressed up. It would probably be a bit higher, but if we're just taking them to the mall,
yeah,
we're not going to be wearing suits and the earpiece and
a plate carrier.
Right, you know what I'm saying? And then, like, you know, I tell a lot of these guys in here that we train, man, you don't see that many black SUVs at the mall rolling 3 or 4 deep saying it's an executive protection team. You know what I'm saying? I mean, other than that, Danny, if that was true, I'd say we go get some black SUVs and rent them out all the time to executive protection teams. But everything's supposed to be down low, you know, and everything calls for that. And it was so funny when I went through my training, because people don't understand the nuances that you actually have to do. Even just getting my trainee executive into the car, I almost shut the damn door on his leg. I was like, yeah, and he was like, oh, you're gonna shut the door on my leg? I'm like, oh, sorry, my boss. I'm like, but it's all those little things that people don't think about on what to do for an executive protection team. And the worst part that we had was, like I said earlier, he really didn't want us. So we were kind of a nuisance. Okay. We were treated more like an Uber service. Yeah. I remember one time it was a big no-no for us to have dinner with them. But one of the executive admins told the CEO, you know, Tony won't be having dinner with you, even though he wanted me there. And she told him he was nervous. I was nervous because I was going against policy and procedure. And he walks up to me and he goes, I don't care. I'm the CEO. You're coming to dinner. And I was like, oh, when you put it like that way, I'm sitting with you. Now, did I break protocol? You betcha. Did I break policy? You betcha. Did I get an email the next day? You betcha. But then I look back on it and I'm like, well, what better way to do it? I mean, I'm sitting here. If something were to happen, I'm right here. Yeah. I'm right here. So it's just so funny to see how all these companies are responding to it, and what they're trying to peddle to other companies, saying, oh, we're the best. And yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's to me sometimes kind of disappointing, because they're just trying to sell a product without really thinking about what they're giving out. So it's pretty depressing that way for me. So
yeah, and I don't want to oversell it either when I say that we would get called if there was like a judge or something that was in trouble, so, or that had some kind of threat. I mean, we do that kind of stuff for customers all the time, you know, or defendants or whatever. It's just like, it's basically just a standby. Like, there's not much to it. So it's not like, you know, we had specific executive protection training. It's all sort of just in the same bucket of like our presence. Like, we're there to watch and, you know, hopefully keep everything on the level, and that's it. So it's not, you know, it's not for us, it doesn't feel like a specialized skill set. It feels like it's just sort of the normal thing. It's just who are we with, basically, is what changes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You go back and you revert to what was like somebody getting terminated, right, in a company, and so you're there to watch over everyone else, right? But let's go back to the assassination. I mean, what did that executive do wrong to land himself into that position? Because I know there's a lot of conversation on that.
Yeah, I mean, supposedly, you know, the guy did some stuff via the insurance, which is okay. But I look at it like, man, nobody's perfect. If you're going to be making that much money all the time,
Well, yeah, and it's not even about that. Just about that day, that morning. Where was the executive team?
Well, and those are the kind of questions that haven't been really answered yet. Where are they? I'm still amazed that the guy knew. The guy must have been following him for a pretty good long time.
I think he had done some recon, yeah.
Yeah, not just recon, but sticking with the guy for like a long time to figure out, man, here's the best way to do it. Like, because let's face it, he picked a perfect area. Like, nobody was around. It was dark. I mean, how do you find a guy like that in that particular moment?
Yeah, I mean, they should have been paying attention. That's what we teach our guys all the time. I mean, it's about step one was surveillance, right? Like, who's watching? Are you watching them? You know, are you trying to figure that out? Are you gathering that information? Was that step not taken?
I don't know, but it also goes back to your point. Like, what led up to this? Did the guy receive threats? Now, that was part of the rumors, you know, that they had threats against them. Well, were they credible threats, right? Who determined if they were credible threats? Once you get a credible threat, what's your plan? Yeah. So what do you do during all these steps, which then becomes, I can understand physical security getting involved in it part-time, because then we have to separate executive protection from physical security. Yeah. So two different concepts, two different job functions, right? So then physical security hands it over to the executive protection team and says, there's a legitimate threat. What does that executive protection team do? Then we have to multiply it like this. Do you have one person as an executive protection team? Do you have multiple people? Because that makes a huge difference. Yeah. Now you're going to be asking a guy to be hanging out with another guy 24/7 by himself. Like, man, I'd be like this, Danny, you can't go anywhere, dude. Let me know. And if the roles were reversed, I'd be like, Danny, I'm going to go for a walk. Leave me alone.
Yeah, stay here.
Like I'm okay. I'm okay. And meanwhile, you're stressed out going what?
Worried about what's going to happen to you. Yeah.
And then it goes back to Isaac's point. Do we train the CEOs to have a heightened sense of awareness? And then you take a guy like that who probably never has had anything like that, probably has the attitude of, well, nobody knows me. Nobody cares about me. A lot of factors. Like I said, just the man factor alone. Like I said, Danny, if you were my executive guy, I'd be like, dude.
You'd be in trouble.
Yeah. I'd be like, dude, I'm going to go get a cup of coffee. Leave me alone. Yeah. Just give me an hour by myself.
Just wait till we can program executive protection drones. They'll just follow you around.
Oh.
There's 4 or 5 of those. Yes, man.
Right?
Get out of here.
And then it also goes like this, though. So I have to throw this part in. Even if he had executive protection agents with him that day, let's just say one walking around, right? Man, the reaction time a person's going to have, right? Because you're not going to be, well, I guess you would be right there next to me, but if someone were to pull a gun in front of us right now, we would naturally go like this. Damn, is that a gun? Like, I mean, I don't know how well trained you are, but Danny, I would be super impressed if somebody pulled a gun on us. Next thing I know, you kung fung fooey the guy without letting us, without anything else.
Hiya.
Yeah, I would be like, wow, Danny, that's pretty good reaction time.
All day long.
right. I would be super impressed if that executive protection agent had the time to actually jump in anyways. I guess my point is if somebody's that bound and determined to cause damage, they're going to cause damage somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, even if we had an executive protection agent with him there, how do we know that we wouldn't have 2 victims? Because that guy was like, man, I'm taking you both out.
He might have taken them both out, yeah.
Right. And then at 5 o'clock in the morning, could you imagine being the executive protection agent wearing the plate?
Oh, actually, I forgot it was
I'd be like
that early in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah, because if I'm the protection agent and you wanted to take off at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'd be like, man, this is early to be wearing that plate right now. Like, this is too much.
Nothing happens at 5 a.m.
Right. This is too much. Like, I mean, I'm a security guy. When I get home, guess what? Man, I don't think about half the things I do. Like man, I'm like, I know I probably should have fortified my backyard, but nah, I ain't doing it today.
Yeah, I think there's a mental health aspect to being able to feel safe at home, so we don't always I think assess all those threats right at the same time at home. It's like, well, this is my home, so I'm trying to decompress a little bit instead of being hyper vigilant, which is probably healthy sometimes, but I could see how that could backfire.
Oh, I try to be hyper vigilant, but I'm like this. If I drive around and I see a guy with a gun on a motorcycle, I'm like this. That guy got a gun on us. What's he doing? Like, why?
Yeah. Speaking of that, I freaked my daughter out a few weeks ago because I took her to the park on one of the days off, and I was concealed carrying, but like I normally am when we go out. But she's playing, and we're at a park where the only people walking around are people walking their dogs and kids, and that's it. And it's not a huge park, and there's not that many people there. And this homie rolls up on an electric bike, wearing all black, body armor, helmet, tactical backpack, tactical fanny pack, blacked out mask. I know, right? Like, for one, okay, style choices, I get it. It's okay to look different. But he rolls up to the bike rack, and then he gets out, and then he looks around, and he starts opening it, and I was like, nope. So I told Mariella, I was like, stand back here. There was some big stone concrete pillars with a little armada. I was like, stand right here. She's like, what's going on? I'm like, I gotta watch this guy, for a minute. And she's like, is this dangerous? Is this a dangerous situation? I was like, I don't think so, but I need to make sure. And she's like, what's going on? And I'm like, so I had to calm her down, and I gave her my phone, and I was like, here, read this. It was like the Superbook verse of the day or something. And so I'm like, here, just read this to me. I'm like, I just got to keep an eye on this guy. And she's like, I don't want to read right now. This is dangerous. I was like, it's okay. Take a deep breath, right? But I'm watching him, and he pulls a tablet out, and he's taking pictures. And then he puts the tablet away, and then he rides off. I know. And I was like, okay, so that was weird. But yeah, as soon as he rolled up, obviously the hypervigilance kicked in, and I was like, am I going to have to shoot this guy?
Well,
if he had pulled a firearm out, it'd have been on. But
my question is what city do you live in?
No, well, this was a really nice part of Gilbert. We were in.
Well, Gilbert. You got me there. We don't roll into Gilbert.
It was a nice part of Gilbert.
We don't roll into Gilbert, man.
See, Gilbert isn't becoming so nice anymore.
Yeah, we don't roll into Gilbert.
With so many people, with so many people coming in from out of states.
Yeah.
They're bringing their garbage with them, and it's increasingly getting.
Oh yeah.
I'm like living here like 5 years ago. This was really nice, but what happened?
Yeah. And some of the 21-year-old PD guys are like, what do we do?
Yeah. No,
I'm just kidding.
It's crazy. So, but yeah, back to executive protection, and then like I say, corporations are scrambling around, because I talk to multiple business owners. They're scrambling around for people, trying to figure out what they want to do for protection. Mm-hmm. And the problem is, man, you ask them questions back like, well, what do you want? Like, what are you thinking? I don't know. I just want to feel safe.
Yeah.
Well, what does that mean? Like,
existentially,
right? Like you want to feel safe. How? Like, what's your concept of safe? So it's just bizarre on how all this comes out. The questions that came out afterwards. Do all CEOs have executive protection? No. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, I'm considered a CEO. If somebody got mad because of our training classes, do they want to take me out? Do I hire an executive protection team? I'm supposed to be my own security. You know what I mean? I mean, it just rolls downhill. Like, but I will tell you what though, if I found out that somebody threatened me, it would certainly heighten my my awareness, even to when I got home, I'd be like, no, we need to lock the gates. We need to do everything that I'm supposed to be doing, and making sure that nobody knows what's going on. So, but it's just so funny. It's
well, that's my question to you. Yeah. Why do you think it kind of disappeared? It left like 1 month later. And was it due to cost, or why do you think executives just now forgot about it, or kind of the world forgot about it?
It's a lot of those. It happened one time. It probably won't happen again. Type of situations. Oh, this is a one-off. Because I'll be honest, in the security realm, if you didn't take advantage of this situation, meaning like you didn't offer your services everywhere, then you're pretty much of a bad business person. Because in those first 2 weeks, that was red hot to sell your services. Now it's just going lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. And then once something happens again, let's take 9/11. Man, for the first year, we were heightened awareness. Now we're back to, man, do we really need TSA? Like, what do they do? Like, no, they keep us safe. Like, prior to 9/11, you didn't want, just the regular contract security companies at the airports. So yeah, I think that's a lot of it. I think a lot of it has to do with awareness, long-term issues. I don't think a lot of it's money, because I think a lot of these companies have money. I just think it's one of those, it won't happen to us. This won't happen to us, which is okay. Take your chances, but it is what it is. So,
Danny, what do you think?
I think it's interesting how, I think especially nowadays, there's a constant flow of information, right? And it's a lot of times it's exaggerated, or at least spun or twisted a little bit. So we're bombarded with that constantly. So we've become, I think, pretty desensitized, especially I think people who are constantly seeking out that type of like exaggerated information, you become very desensitized to it, and maybe even jaded. And so I think you can feel strongly about something, but then we're used to turning around and then feeling normal about it again a few days later, which I don't think is healthy, but I think it's or wise at least, but I think it's a result of this constant flow of information, right? And I'm definitely guilty of that as well. So sometimes I have to go back and like, quote unquote, like meditate on something and be like, okay, like let me make sure I'm seeing this clearly instead of just moving on to the next thing, because if not, then we just become kind of a constant flip over process of just like forgetting about everything.
Right. It happened one time. No, hey Danny, I agree with you 100%. I think that after time, we just become desensitized to all this, and then we put it back once something happens. So, hey, thanks for the great conversation as always. Hopefully we have some executive protection people reach out to us. Let us know whether we're right or wrong. It doesn't bother me, as long as we have good conversation. So until the next time, I think on the next one we're going to cover Arizona House Bill 2022. We'll explain that in our next episode. Until then, everybody stay safe.
All right.